Let me just say thank you so much for joining us, everyone, today. I'm really excited to be having this rapid webinar for you all. My name is Sean Pepin. I'm a regional coordinator for Guided Pathways in the LA and Orange County area. And just a little bit about the purpose of these rapid webinars. We've had a couple, and we're going to have a couple more, and they're really to provide some quick bursts of information about some pertinent issues on how to really do good practice and move forward on your work. So we just want to make sure that we're giving you all supports that you need in order to move online right now or to do other things that are Guided Pathways related. So I will go ahead and introduce Michelle Stricker, who is also a regional coordinator, and she'll be introducing our presenter today. Also, just a quick side note, if you have questions or comments, we will be monitoring the sidebar throughout. And at the end, Michelle and I will kind of curate some of those questions and make sure that Dr. Damania will be able to answer some of those.
Thank you, Sean. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We know that time is precious in this new environment, and so we really appreciate you joining us for this rapid webinar. I'm really excited to introduce a really dynamic person. I think a lot of you know him. Dr. Nicky Damania is the Director of Student Life at Bakersfield College, and he has done some amazing work with transitioning, much like we are all in this situation, transitioning student life into an online environment. And we wanted to give him a bulk of time today to talk to you about how they've done that. Additionally, just to remind you, please, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll be adding them to a running document, and we will try to answer as many as we can at the end. So I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Just as I get some chats in, yes, this is recorded, and Sean will provide the information out later. But thank you all very much for joining in. I'm going to start my timer so I know how far I'm going. But I'm honored to present today. The work that we're doing at Bakersfield College, in our mind, has really been leading a lot of the ways. And in one of the things I've always injected, how do we engage our students in a virtual environment, especially in this time where we know social distancing is needed, but we also need to make sure we're connecting with our students. We're still engaging them in that vibrant student life. So here is what I have as the Bakersfield Renegade model. Moving to my next slide and making sure that it's coming across to the screen. Yes, here we go. Here's our timeline here at Bakersfield College. I kind of want to set the ground. We started in January 30th. I oversee our Student Health and Wellness Center as well, and we started our communication with students and staff about COVID-19 and the effects, and you know, making sure that we're keeping ourselves safe and clean, as well as ensuring that we had hand sanitizers and whatnot. This is basically our timeline that's put out by our president's office. I kind of want to highlight a couple of different things. March 6th is when we really started pushing for everything to be online. We started moving our classes, a lot of the engagement. By March 12th, we really started moving, like everything was going to online. We held numerous workshops for faculty and staff to how do you engage in an online environment with students. We posted a lot of student conversations as well. Moving to the next slide, March 16th, all our services were online, and we worked pretty much day and night to ensure that all our services were there, bringing up our websites to make sure we had all pertinent information, engaging in all social media aspects that students know where and when to get services, including pantry services, student government, student health, anything that. And then one of our latest programs that we had starting on March 12th was we initiated our Chromebook Learner program to making sure that our students are engaging in online community. So this all work started when our president, Dr. Sonia Christian, initiated our Incident Command Center, and being a part of that team, I was blessed to making sure that we ensured our students with a vibrant community online in a virtual environment. And this is where we say we're leading the virtual environment. We're always saying we're ahead of the curve, and we're one of the things I pulled from Dr. Christian is letting our time guide our creativity. in our times, we need to make sure that we're always molding and adapting to our environment. So getting to the core of what we're talking about is the Office of Student Life that I oversee. This PowerPoint will be made available to all of you, so you'll be able to see the links and get into everywhere. But our office sees numerous amounts of services on campus and the student government as well. And I'll be covering the different areas briefly, as well as some of the other areas that I oversee. So I do want to put out a special plug to my student staff and my professional staff at Bakersfield College. My team works very hard, and
I think we may have lost Nikki for a second.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes, thank you.
Okay. So can you see the Student Life website? Yep. All right. So this is the staff. I just want to make sure I'm plugging out, because everything that I'm presenting today isn't a sole decision of myself. It becomes very much of a team, which is very much similar to many of our other offices. Now, moving back to the PowerPoint, you can see the PowerPoint. All right. This is our transition to a virtual engagement. So on March 6th, we started reviewing all our events in spring of 2020. Which are the crucial events, which are the doable events, and which events are just not needed right now. We really had to make a lot of decisions, and it wasn't just in our office. We worked with our scheduling office to make sure that all events across campus are being affected by this. How can we support our events around campus to go to an online environment if they choose to? If we have speakers, can we connect with the speakers to see if online forums are available to them? By March 12th, we started transitioning all our areas within student life, the student activities, student government, student health. We started talking with our student organizations how they can start building communities within virtual platforms. By March 16th, we created the virtual reality, is what we say. All our events were now posted online. We started new fitness programs. We started support groups. We started modes of operations. And we started a new engagement platform, Discord, which we will talk about briefly. And then now, of course, we're starting to plan ahead, including summer of 2020, fall of 2020, the leadership training for our student government, and graduation, of course. Moving to our next slide, we're going to start with the student government. If you were in the town hall this morning, hosted by Chancellor Gonzalez, one of our student government presidents, Samantha Gonzalez Toledo, made us very proud by being one of our student representatives on there. And she also has been at the table leading the way of how we look at virtual environments for our students. She puts out weekly emails to our students, engaging them of what's happening, how to be there. I'm not going to go into each of the links because I feel like I might be losing some bandwidth. But as I said, the PowerPoint will be made available, and everything is linked to it. We start talking with our Senate. How do we continue Senate online, ensuring that we're meeting with Brown Act and open meeting and posting of agendas? We still meet with our senators on their projects that they're doing, engaging them in that. We're ensuring that they're attending their governance meetings, the participatory governance meetings, and making sure they're having those Zoom links so that they can engage the student voice into those very important meetings. The executive team, we've individualized their meetings to one-on-ones with the president of the student government and ourselves as the advisors. We're talking about motivation engagement. A lot of it is events and planning those events and developing those events and making sure that our social media is kept up to par. Our website is updated on a continuous basis. And of course, it's spring 2020, so we have to start looking into elections as well. Last week was our spring fling and elections, and we had voting online. We've always done voting online, but this is the first time that we didn't have as much of a campaign, a physical campaign. It all had to be virtual through media and social media and emails and whatnot. The elections results, you can see we live streamed everything to YouTube and Facebook, so that it was captured there, so that students at different times, if their classes were synchronized or asynchronized, they could go back and view them as well. Going on to our next slide, I wanted to touch upon the Brown Act and teleconferencing, because in our student government world, that's huge, and we want to make sure that we're holding our government accountable for that. Taking this off, if you're part of CSAW, which I'm the honor of being the president-elect for, is the California Community Colleges Student Affairs Association. One of our members, Bruce Bishop, sent out an email regarding teleconferences, which was then followed up by our CSAW Director of Legislative Affairs, Robert Bustamante, about the executive order that was placed out in some of the provisions and conditions that were needed. So I have listed these here for you so you can review them, as well as some other practices that we made sure that we're connecting in on, is that we're making sure that all our members are able to hear each other. The votes are always taken by roll call vote, and that we're always ensuring that someone is managing Robert's Rules of Order at their meetings. Just giving it that extra feel, even though we're at a virtual environment, we're still holding them accountable to their bylaws of the Robert's Rules of Order. We've been asked by quite a few of the student government advisors if they could sit in on our student government meetings. As I say, our meetings are always open to the public, so please come in and see if you would like to view our meetings for that. Going on to what we consider as our student assistance program, which is our Renegade Pantry. We do more than just food. We have a lot of different services that are partnered, direct services and indirect services. One of the big ones that we have is our Renegade drive-through, where we practice social distancing. Students, at least 24 hours in advance, will submit in a form online, which our student employees will receive, package up the meals or the package, and then have it ready for the next day for students to drive in. They unlock their door or their trunk, we throw it in there, we close it, and they go off. All our students have protective PPE to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe as well. We're doing collaborations with our food bank in the Kern community, where we served over 300 students this past Monday, and it was a revolving door, just making sure that we're getting there. We're still continuing our Panera bread, our daily bread, and wrapping it up and working with Panera to make sure that we're eliminating as much of the health risks as much as possible. We still continue with our closet and our hygiene cabinets. We're engaging. We have a lot of resources. As soon as I find some new resource that's available in our community or our state, we update our resource page. Students know how to get there, including Wi-Fi connections. There is a special Facebook page on Facebook that's called Surviving Bakersfield College. Our student government officers, student employees around the college, and staff around the college, I pride ourselves to being sure that we're engaging in those students. And as soon as we see questions, we're responding and helping to a student. That's an in-depth care that we have committed to on our personal off time for that. We've collaborated with our hotel, the Marriott, Courtyard Marriott, in providing homeless hotel support services to our students that are finding themselves in a predicament where they're getting evicted or just needing an extra room for the night or for the time of the spring semester. Our Dignity Health has started engaging in conversation about how do you prepare meals, large meals with small amounts of dollars. We do virtual workshops with them. They actually presented, we hosted. Moving on to student organizations. That's, as I say, is the niche of Bakersfield College, right? It's a very passionate topic for me because that's my dissertation, is how do you engage students in a student organization. It definitely engages Athens theory of involvement, where all three components are engaging into making students engage. And now we're doing that virtually. How do we give them that peer-to-peer connection, peer-to-faculty connection, and peer-to-group connection? That is crucial to look at when we're looking at an engaged environment in a virtual environment. So we started Zoom meetings. Students can't create long Zoom meetings, so we do it for them and we help them. We do trainings for them. We engage their faculty members to make sure that they're there, that they're helping out with their students. We're hosting meetings, we're putting events on Discord so that students have that platform. And of course, we're still going on with our recognition and awards. It's an annual event that we host in the office that recognize our student leadership and our student government. I want to throw out a plug for our student nurses. 69 of them went out into the workforce from our Student Nursing Association and really helped out. Let's go on to more activities. As I mentioned, we're on a Discord portal. A lot of the events on our left side are all managed through our Discord profile. And our traditional events have been migrated to a virtual environment through Zoom or other platforms. We really engage in fitness and making sure we're doing that, and we included our staff and our faculty in that. As I mentioned, Discord is one of our hot topics, and I'll be the first to admit, when it was brought to my attention in the fall, I kind of was like, yeah, you know, that's going to be a little too much. I keep thinking back to, we should have really started Discord a while back ago, and I have to thank my program manager, Benny Valderrama, for bringing this to Bakersfield College, because now on a college level, we're looking at that to see if this is an opportunity for our students to really engage in being the hotspot. I was actually going to show you a little bit about the Discord and show you the platform, but I'm a little worried about the internet connection, so if need be at the end, I can show that as well. Next, large-scale events. We definitely had a bunch of events that we would host in our theater that now we're doing into Zoom. So one of them is a comedian. Here's some challenges. Comedians like to see the vocal expressions and the faces of the audience. Our comedian had a tough time, but he was a trooper. He went through it. He did it, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of engagement. Us as staff were like, we actually got more people involved in the comedian online than we did if we were to host it in person, which was really cool. We did have some technical difficulties whenever we hosted. One of the big ones was during our distinguished speaker event with Dr. Tony Eiten. He was our distinguished speaker, the last one, and it was challenging. We had a lot of challenges. If you go to the link, you can see a lot of the challenges and how we went through. We had over 350 people at that Zoom meeting, which broke Zoom, literally. I had to chat with Zoom on the other side while trying to figure out how do we move there. We actually had to close down our Zoom and reopen a new Zoom meeting in the middle of being there. Dr. Eaton was amazing. He kept trooping on, kept going. It was a very engaging conversation. Moving on, student conduct is another realm within our office. We're starting to teach faculty and students how to do netiquette. How do you engage in conversations online? When you're in a Zoom, now this background is part of the classroom environment. So if you have, what I had to do last week was talk to a student why a Confederate flag might not be the best thing to have in your background. And then I have the same conversation here with myself, or what type of people walking behind or something like that. So we're having those conversations with students, which are great to have one-on-one. I have students of concerns interns that really engage with that. We use the starfish model, so faculty really engage in that, in making sure that we're helping our students out. We work under the restorative justice meeting. So it's interesting to have a Zoom meeting with a couple of people and being able to have a restorative justice conversation virtually online. We've had a couple of incidences that have happened in the last couple of days, including a suicide of a student on campus. And how do we engage our full student population in that area? How do you have those? We had multiple conversations, multiple day conversations with students, and the support that the faculty gave during that was amazing. Moving on to student health and wellness, this is an area that's crucial right now, is the mental health. Making sure there's a lot of support groups. Even with my students of concerns, they're like, well, I only had 2 students in my group today. That's 2 students that needed you, that you were able to support. That's important. That's really good in that measure, is making sure that's there. So we have community forums about COVID-19 because there's a lot of information out there for students. How do we engage them in proper information about that? Also, we have our advice of our nurse, and a medical assistant. Students can still make one-on-one appointments with them even though they're not able to physically be in the office. We do give flu shots through our drive-through pantry program. We have a lot of different appointments that we can do virtually through protected Zooms. I want to give a shout out to my colleague Jenny Frank in the Veterans Resource Center. She was one of our first in BC to go virtually with her office as far as engaging students in a lobby syndrome, modality, where students can come. As you know, veterans are a special population that need a lot of support in, and she's been engaging. And she just started in the high ed field in January. And of course, she's like taking the bull by the horns and going for it. There you go for a Marine right there. But engaging, how do you do tutoring, one-on-one tutoring at the moment, right? So she has tutors on standby. She has student employees on standby that'll help there. She has graphic designers that can help with modes. So how do you go and still create that environment for that niche community? So I engage you to have that conversation with her as well. And then of course we have other events that our office has been helping with, is even like the virtual transfer center, right? We're in that transfer. How do we engage our students into transferring? We've been doing a lot of social media. We've been engaging in TikTok. And a lot of times they're like, whoa, TikTok, whoa, like, but that's important. Like that's where our students are right now. So as they're looking through the random TikToks out there, there's a message from me or from a student government saying, hey, don't forget about virtual transfer fair coming up, or look at recruitment day. And we had 30-minute workshops all day on there that's led by our Career and Technology Education office. And that's just creativity that hasn't been spun out of our office, but that's how we're working here at BC and really engaging with that. So I leave you with a message that our office gave to our students, because we couldn't do that with that. So I encourage you to check that link out later. It's a video thanking all our students that have moved fast with us as well to making sure that's in environment. And at this time, I'm going to pass the buck back over to Michelle to engage in a whole conversation around student engagement virtually. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will make sure and get, as soon as we get the transcript finalized, we will get a copy of this PowerPoint out to you all so that you have access to all of those links. I think those are going to be really, really helpful going forward. So just a reminder, if you have specific questions, please share them in the chat. We have a couple that we can get started with. One of them is, Nikki, could you talk a little bit more about Discord, how you're using it, how you create community on that platform, just a little bit more around that.
Sure. So let me do a screen share of Discord with you. And I'm going to be honest right now, I'm not 100% on Discord, but I have provided Benny Balarama's email in the presentation, so please outreach. He's been doing presentations across the nation as well with colleagues showing Discord. He's really leading the way on this. But here is the platform. Can you see the Discord? It's a gray screen with a lot of words in it. Yeah, okay. So here we go. What's really important is you have these huddles, which are channels. We have the welcome center. Students can log in. They get the invite, which is just like a tiny URL. They can log in. They create their profile. You can see the different staff members that we have here that are able. Here's our president's office staff member. Here's our director of student activities for our student government. They're all engaging in this platform. Here, you have Sarah that's typing in. My staff, if you're on, please start engaging in the conversation. They'll be there. This is a one-stop shop, so students can pose general questions on here, and we try to get them. If we need to send them to another channel so they can talk to financial aid, or if they need to talk one-on-one. Discord, as far as I know, doesn't do video one-on-one, but that's very important that we can then send them a Zoom link, which will connect them to that office in this modality right here. Various different things. We have Hangouts. We have, let me see if I can find here's our karaoke room. We do a lot of karaoke. That's one of the big events that have been in person that we moved virtually. So there's a little bit about that.
Thank you. And then another question that's come up is kind of along the same lines. I think it's about using these different technology platforms, but could you speak maybe a little bit more about TikTok? Who's creating the videos? How are you pushing those out? Maybe some examples that you guys have used.
So I'm going to be honest, it's a lot of trust with my students on any of the social media, right? You have to trust your students. Knowing my students, the ones that we give them the access, I know them, and they know that if they did anything bad, I have the student conduct realm right at them, with the student code of conduct. But fortunately, I've been blessed with some really good students, and they create videos. They create them, they email them to me, or they have me see if they want me to tweak anything or anything like that. But I trust them. They send it out via TikTok. We have a TikTok challenge right now, which is the one where the song is like this, and what do you miss about BC and what are you looking forward to? If you go on it, you can look at me. Mine's the Wild Renegade. I have it like I'm missing the chicken tenders that we have in our huddle on our cafeteria. Like that's home food for BC that everyone loves. And so it's that engagement of those conversations, right? And having myself as a staff member, like they see a lot of emails from me, students. So now they're engaging in those platforms. Asking questions. How do I contact a counselor? Where do I go in Starfish? Like now they're asking those questions on TikTok versus Facebook because there's just so much information that's going out on that. I have all those linked in the presentation so you'll be able to see. But once again, I myself and Benny, we take the time at night and look through and we scroll through to make sure if there's anything inappropriate, we take it off immediately.
And if you're monitoring the chat, Benny was kind enough to put his email address in the chat if you'd like to contact him. And then again, it will be in the presentation when we send that out to you. So thank you so much for that. There was a question asked earlier, and we'll probably wrap it up with this around colleges who are providing seating and Wi-Fi to their students outside. We know that access is a big issue for many of our students on many of our campuses. And I know people were kind of responding in the chat of what different colleges were doing, but could you speak maybe just for a couple of minutes about some of the challenges you've encountered with access to technology and or Wi-Fi, and kind of how BC has approached that in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, so virtually going online, everybody needs a laptop, needs it there. So we started small and we said, let's use the mobile devices you have. How do we engage in those conversations? How can students get through the first part with mobile devices they have in hand? How do we make sure that they can get Zoom, the Zoom app? How do we get a scanner so if they have to scan everything? We started doing, and it's still on our Bakersfield website for COVID-19, those instructions in there. And I just uploaded the presentation to the chat, so if you want to download that, you can do that as well. But we can engage in those. And then we started moving into, once we got a generous donation from the Bynum family, we were able to engage in buying more Chromebooks so that our students, and we started a Chromebook loaner program. Students emailed us, we were able to get them a Chromebook the next day, and now we got some more dollars coming in, so I'm buying more laptops as we go through. The first week that we did it, I literally was going to Best Buy and buying laptops, and we're doing that. And so it's just like, we try to get that out. And then now the Wi-Fi, we worked with, Spectrum and Charter have been amazing assets. We've been trying to get students, how do you get them on Verizon? Verizon ups their data. So I've been educating students, do a lot of the work in Google Docs offline. You don't need to be online when you're doing those assignments. Then connect online, send your homework, and get back off. It's those conversations. And the president has done president forums twice a week or so. So those are little tidbits a lot of us have been sharing on those forums so that students can hear that. And it's multiple times. Faculty will email me, how do I get SPSS and AutoCAD? Students need those for their classes. So we've been working with faculty. How do you manage those learning outcomes, still getting to the end, but in a different program? There's no one way. You have to work on it.
Well, I feel like this was such a great amount of information to take in, and I'm so grateful that there's a PowerPoint with all of these links in them. I wanted to kind of quickly wrap up. Dr. Damania, is there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
No, I just wish everyone be safe and practice what we teach. You know, I didn't put a slide in there, which I think I feel like I should have now, is making sure that we're self-caring ourselves, taking those moments for ourselves. As I said, we do virtual, virtual fitness kind of things. I make sure that I'm on there, you know, that I'm doing them as well, that I'm making mindset, I'm going out on those walks. My student leadership team, we get together every morning and we laugh and cry and we yell and scream at each other for different things, but we still need that. And I'm hoping that all the colleges across, and I'm sure there's more things that are happening out there, and I want to learn, and I'm hoping people will still continue the conversation. And all my Seesaw colleagues out there, thank you for joining, and I'm hoping we can continue this conversation on our listserv. There's a lot of information from other colleges that I'm sure we can share from each other for it. But take care of yourselves, and I look forward to helping. If please reach out and see if I can help you with anything.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Damania. This has been incredibly helpful. Just as a reminder to everybody, we will be sending out the recording of this with the transcript. That does take a little bit to get done. Once we have that, we will send that out along with the PowerPoint, which usually takes about 12 hours to 24 hours. So we'll go ahead and try to do that by tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. So thank you so much for joining us. We had over 110 people on this webinar, and I'm sure many more will be watching it from in recordings. Thank you all. Have a very good day.